police are always in my neighborhood.
I know some of them. Sometimes we talk about things.
I want to run away when I see them.
Sometimes I talk to them about things that are going on.
At school, there was a big fight. The cops came and stopped it. Then they talked to everybody about what happened.
My dad said not to trust them. They'll throw you in jail.
Police know what to do when there's a problem.
I get nervous around them.
They make me feel safe.
Children see police officers in a unique light, as positive role models, strong and in control, or as invaders, unwelcome in their neighborhoods or in their homes. For kids, whatever they feel, police officers can often seem larger than life. As law enforcement officers, our actions around children and teenagers, especially in times of crisis, can have a powerful effect. One of the most common ways for officers to come in contact with children is when responding to domestic violence calls. Most of these calls will have children on scene. Kids in these situations are always the unseen victims. Police officers know that often today's victims will be tomorrow's perpetrators. But we have a chance to interrupt this cycle. Police are positive authority figures. When we reach out to children in these situations, we have a chance to restore order to their lives. This video is designed as a training tool for police officers who respond to domestic violence calls where children are on the premises. The goal of this program is to make officers aware of a few simple actions they can take to protect children involved in domestic violence. Every day, innocent kids are witness to the pervasive problem of domestic violence in our society. Police officers, like you and me, are in a position to bring about change, to help protect all our futures. We've all responded to domestic disputes. Each call has a history all its own. Yet domestic violence situations do have a few things in common. Nationwide, roughly a third of the calls for police service involve domestic violence. 2/3 of those calls have children on scene. Children who experience domestic violence are more likely to become victims and perpetrators in the future. In over half the families with domestic violence, there is also child abuse. Teenagers who witness domestic violence often become involved in violent relationships themselves. Kids exposed to domestic violence are more likely to develop learning problems, difficulties with friends, delinquent behaviors, mental health problems, and drug and/or alcohol abuse. We'd like to start by showing you a familiar scene. Police officers responding to a domestic violence call. The following dramatization is meant to serve as a frame of reference for the remainder of this training program. We will refer back to it as it raises some important questions.
911, what's your emergency?
My mommy and daddy are fighting.
Where are you right now?
Upstairs in my mommy.
Good, here's our backup.
Anything right. What's it gonna take to get through you?
Go away from me.
Police!
He's coming to the door.
Hey, how you doing today?
How you doing?
Everything okay?
Everything's fine. What can I do for
Okay.
you?
Well, we got a 911 call here.
911?
Yeah.
Everything's
Mind if
under-
we come in? We got to check out and see if
Excuse me, wait a
everybody's
second.
okay.
Everybody's fine. What are you
Okay,
talking about?
just step inside over here for
Wait
a
a second,
minute.
excuse me,
Why don't you
there's
tell me
no-
what's going on?
There's nothing going on.
just talk to my
Okay.
partner
for a minute, okay, sir?
Wait a second.
There's nothing going on.
Well, why did we get...
I don't know. What's going on?
So stupid.
Okay, what's starting?
Everything okay?
What happened? Just have a seat here.
I'm going to tell you.
Okay, what's the problem, ma'am?
It just sort of got out of hand.
Okay. Now, we had a little fight, that's all.
Okay, and what happened then?
Nothing happened then. You guys showed up. I don't know what you were doing
Okay,
here.
why is she... You got any kids in this house?
Yes.
Where are they at?
My daughter's, I think, in the living room. I think my...
Hi. Is your name? What's your name, sweetie?
Courtney.
Courtney? Do you have a brother?
Yes, he's upstairs.
He's upstairs. Can you take me to him?
Okay? Yeah, don't worry about it. Go take care of Sean, would you please?
She's all right. She's all right with
You
that.
grabbed him around your neck, ma'am? Do you need a
Threw me on
doctor?
the
You
ground.
need medical attention, ma'am?
I don't think so.
Are you sure, ma'am?
I don't think I do.
Can you have any kids in the house?
Excuse me, this is a nice household here. Why don't you go out and get some real criminals, all right?
Until we find out what's going on.
Hi. And what's your name?
Sean.
What's going on?
Did one of you call the police?
I did, Sean. My mom, she told me to call 911.
Okay,
Wait a
ma'am.
minute, you're gonna arrest him?
I have to, ma'am. Can you have
This
this
is-
with Angie,
he's never
ma'am?
done anything
I
like this
understand that, ma'am.
before.
We're gonna have to arrest him. Okay, please just hold for 1 minute, okay? I'll be right back.
Oh, wait a
You need to
minute.
calm down, sir. Okay?
Excuse me,
Okay? So you need to calm down.
I understand that, but this is ridiculous. You're not arresting me.
Sir,
Lori,
you
what
are
did you
under
tell them?
arrest.
Wait, I didn't do. Lori, what did you tell them?
All right, you're under arrest.
Ridiculous.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can. Did you put your hands on her?
I accidentally shot her.
Okay, that's why you're going to jail. It's called domestic violence.
You never know what to expect on any call. Police officers' safety and the safety of others is always our first priority. But when you respond to a call and find kids are on scene, you need to ask yourself some basic questions. What are the kids seeing and hearing? Who is caring for them? How can we help children to feel safer? How can we help parents to attend to their children? What is our responsibility and what are our options? In responding to domestic violence calls where children are present, there are 5 major points to keep in mind. All children are affected by domestic violence. However, each child reacts in a different way. Children living with domestic violence often have complicated feelings about their parents. Children often worry that they are responsible for the violence in their homes. Police officers really matter to kids. There are simple things police officers can do while on scene to help reduce the impact of domestic violence on children. As officers experienced in domestics will tell you, the reactions you see from children will vary dramatically. All children are affected by domestic violence. However, each child reacts in a different way.
I heard my mommy say I was asleep, but I really wasn't. I was scared that he was gonna hurt me.
I wanted to kill him.
Children have all kinds of different reactions to domestic violence. Some children feel sad, they feel angry, they feel confused, they feel scared. And what you see in their behavior also really varies widely. Sometimes when officers come on scenes of domestic violence, they may also see children who look as if they're not reacting to anything. They may just be looking blank.
A few years back, we went to a house. It was a domestic violence call. The kids reacted in a way which was totally off the wall. I mean, one of the kids actually was about 11 or 12 years old. He came at one of the officers with a knife because we were trying to handcuff the father at the time.
Like you said, every situation is different when you go inside, and their reaction sometimes is good, sometimes is bad. You multitask. When you go into a scene, you look at the kids and you try to make a rapport and wave to them and shake their hand, kind of give them, comfort them a little bit before you try to investigate what's going on. And some of them are happy and some of them are sad. Some are terrified that you're there. Some of them cry hysterically that you're there until they know what's going on, because they've been taught so long that the police are bad, or they're gonna arrest somebody. And sometimes they think that you're gonna arrest them, that they did something wrong.
Children of different ages also react very differently. Very young children may cling to their caregivers or cry. Older children may react, you may see more in terms of their actions. They may be angry or aggressive.
I wanted to protect my mom. Can you believe this has been going on my whole life? I want it to stop.
Mommy acts like there's nothing wrong, but I know there is.
Kids do all sorts of things to make themselves feel better that may not really work. I think one of the most important things for police to really remember is that children often try to avoid their feelings in these situations because they're so overwhelming, and it's easy to misjudge their reaction. So the classic one is watching TV. And watching TV is often a way not to feel and not to feel overwhelmed.
If I go in a house and I see a child is watching TV, like oblivious to the house being wrecked and anything like that, you kind of think that this is not the first time this child has seen this. And that's their way of building a barrier to kind of like tone everything out.
I would rather see a kid reacting to the incident versus just sitting there and not reacting at all to the incident, because there's more things going on with that child than with the kid that's reacting.
Our second core message that all police officers should understand is this: Children living with domestic violence often have complicated feelings about their parents.
Children look to parents to guide, support, and protect them as they develop and grow through life. In a situation of domestic violence, children's views of parents and their expectations for what parents are providing them shift radically.
Children really rely on parents to help them understand how to navigate through life. And that's how they learn how to do it on their own. In cases where there's domestic violence, that is torn asunder. And so now you end up with these very complicated feelings. You love your parents, and yet one parent is hurting the other. They become threatening. Again, this is very terrifying and very confusing. And the younger a child is, the more confusing it can be.
These confused feelings manifest themselves in a variety of ways, such as kids being angry and blaming the police, children being more concerned about what happens to the perpetrator than the victim, kids lying about what happened, children being angry at the victim for calling the police, older kids taking responsibility for their parents and their siblings, kids being fiercely protective of parents, and children clinging to their mother.
When they see something happening in front of them between their parents or with one of their parents where they're not safe and they're exposing them to lack of safety, all of a sudden, how can they possibly feel safe in the rest of the world when their parents, who are the purveyors of safety, aren't safe themselves? Their loyalties become divided because the person who's being taken away may end up being the person at that moment that they care most about, even though overall it may be the victim who is the one who's been most nurturing. So it can be very confusing for a child. And officers often feel confused by that they don't understand why a child can't understand the nature of the event and what the officer's role is.
While their reactions can vary widely, a common characteristic shared by many children is that they often feel responsible for the violence in their homes.
It's my fault my daddy went to jail. I never should have called the police.
Children often feel that domestic violence is their fault. They worry about things they did and didn't do. They feel guilty. Sometimes children may have been the ones that called 911 or called the police, and so they worry about feeling responsible for parents. They worry about what may happen to their parents. But oftentimes, children worry that the reason behind the violence is because of something that they did.
We see this particularly in young children who can't make sense out of events. They don't know cause and effect, and they can't really understand why the violence is happening. So I think in the absence of being able to understand, they blame themselves.
I never should have said anything. Now they're going to take me away.
Children can experience awful guilt. They can feel terribly about what's happened. And I think sometimes in a response to that guilt, then children take on the responsibility of trying to protect their parents or trying to somehow make it right. And when children feel the burden of protecting their parents, that's when they can get hurt.
The truth is that in these situations, children are helpless. They don't have the ability to control their parents' actions and behaviors, but oftentimes they try.
I should have stopped him. Now everybody knows our business. What am I going to tell my friends?
Despite kids' guilt or their feeling of responsibility, we as adults know that they are not responsible. And I think the messages that police can give children that's important to think about with children is to reassure them that what happened wasn't their fault, and it's also not their responsibility to make the situation right.
As many of us know, children display a wide range of reactions in the presence of a police officer. However they may feel about us, good or bad, they watch our every move and remember what they see. This tells us one thing: police really matter to kids.
I think as a police officer, you might be the first person to observe some of what children live with. If you see a child who's been affected by abuse or neglect, or a child that's living in a terrible home environment, you're in a position to do something about that, and that can make a big difference to children.
In the immediate aftermath of a violent incident, children often feel that the whole world is out of control and falling apart. And what good officers can do is to help restore security and order, and that makes a big difference to children.
As soon as we walk into the house, first thing a lot of times that I ask is, are there weapons in the house? Are there children in the house? And then we'll go on to the children and try to speak to them and see how they're reacting to the incident. After we're all said and done with the whole incident and nothing major happened, we get a lot of thank yous because they're just glad that we were there to help them, and that always feels nice.
When police officers walk through the door of a domestic scene, children may be waiting and watching to see what you're going to do. And you're in a position to make a difference in children's lives, and children know that and they see that.
When a police officer walks through that door, we are getting an uncut snapshot of a family's life. If we leave without doing something, the opportunity to intervene in a child's life is lost. It's critical for all of us to understand there are simple things police officers can do while on scene to help reduce the impact of domestic violence on children. What follows is a detailed list of practical actions you can take. The list is fairly long, but you should know that it is included as part of this program's companion print materials. When responding to a domestic violence scene, check for signs of children's presence. Even though parents may say the children are not there, look for toys, children's clothes, or any other indications of children being in the house. Try not to interview parents in front of the child. If possible, avoid making an arrest in the child's presence. Identify someone on scene who can take care of the children. Whenever possible, try to keep them with a known, trusted adult. When talking to parents, ask about children. Do not accept that they were unaware of the situation. Try not to talk badly about either parent in front of children. Children are more likely to see police officers as helpful if their parents are treated with respect. Express concern for children. This helps parents think about them, too. Provide parents with information about safety and legal issues.
When talking to children, introduce yourself and describe your role in simple terms. Sit or squat down so you're physically at their level. Check for injuries. Acknowledge that something upsetting happened. Be realistic. Don't say everything will be okay or make promises you can't keep. Reassure children that the violence was not their fault. Reassure children that it is not their responsibility to stop the violence. Tell the children police are there to help. If there's violence, call them. If they're in danger, they should go to a trusted neighbor's house or another safe place where there are trusted grown-ups. Before you leave, make sure you explain what's likely to happen next.
Finally, it's important that you know your resources. These may include domestic violence advocates and shelters, child protective services, child welfare and child advocacy groups, mental health professionals, and emergency medical services or medical professionals. These relationships with other professionals can help make your work more effective.
Children have very small voices when it comes to how they're being raised. When you respond to that domestic violence call, even if it's your first time to the house, chances are the violence, verbal or physical, and the dysfunctional behavior have been going on for some time. Everybody, including the children, has been affected by it. When you arrive, your police presence opens a window of opportunity. You just may be the first objective person outside the family to get a look at what's going on. If you haven't already started thinking about how kids are the losers in any domestic violence situation, and that by using your training and experience, you can do something about it, start doing it now. Not only is it the right thing to do, someday a kid might just come up to you and thank you for what you did. I'm Lieutenant R.C. Hassett, New Haven Police Department, New Haven, Connecticut. Thank you for your attention.